He's man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Tuesday night live. It's a special day. Rangers have signed or are signing a player, and he's an attacker. Thank you very much. Yes, and we've had bids rejected for others. So we are going to talk all about it. Joining me on the show tonight to talk about it is the original OG Kenny Stewart and our new recruit, third or fourth appearance for Ross Clark. Kenny, how are you?
Aye, not bad at all. Just chased my tail a bit today, but apart from that, I'm fine.
Roscoe, how are you, mate? You well?
Very good, mate. Very good. Glad to be back on to speak about some good Rangers news, hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope so. Plenty to discuss. Slightly late because Kenny made me change this evening, as unbelievably we were wearing the same stuff. I don't know how it happens. So I popped on the away kit. First viewing. Or first wearing, sorry, for me. I quite like it. I know it's super unstaunch and everybody must hate it, but I really like it. So let's get on to today's news. Under 19s drew 3 each with Hearts at the training ground. They were 3-0 down before Owen, Fernie and Reid equalised for Rangers with 20 minutes or so left. So after winning the first game at United 3-1 last week, they follow up with a draw today, Kenny. But being 3 down, and we don't, it's not great that they were 3 down, but to come back and get a result like that is not bad.
It will feel like a win, won't it? If you're 3-0 down with 20 minutes to go, it does. Listen, I'll take an interest all season in how they do, because by all accounts, there's some very tidy young players out there. So, that's a decent result. I know Hearts are at that level are fairly stable and pretty decent every year, aren't they? So to come back for there, all credit to them. There's not a lot else I can say. I didn't even know that, mate. That's news to me, but that is a good result. So fair play.
Yeah, I like to spring these things on you because I know you do the agenda, and then I like to completely ignore it just to keep you on your toes. But Ross, that's a good result. I suppose a draw is never good enough, but it's a good result in being 3-0 down. Connor Owen is somebody that's grabbing the attentions from the youth. He's got that look, hasn't he? He is the skin-headed, big, mossly, 6 foot centre half, even at that age, that everybody says. And he's been the one that's linked with the step up as well to come into the first team for centre half position. He's on the score sheet again after scoring against United last week.
He looks like a bouncer, doesn't he? See, when you see him in the pictures there, you could picture him manning the doors at their office pub in Paisley. He's one of the, if he's been 14, he's got the growth and the bald head. He actually looks physically ready to be in the first team. Stevie, one thing about me is the youths, I've not took that much of an interest in it in the past. It's probably an area of Rangers where I should pay a bit more attention, but having seen the result today, I don't know about squad-wise, because I know that obviously young Rankin and a few of the others played against Partick Thistle for the first team the other day, so I don't know if they were back involved or I don't really know. I seen the result on Twitter, but I never seen anything about the game other than the scoreline and the scorers, Stevie, to be honest.
No, young Rankin, and I think it was Kyle Ward that scored. Kyle Ward. Kenny, I'll need to refer back to your agenda from last night, which I did read and did use last night. But Lyle Wark. So it was Lyle Wark and young Luca Rankin-Jones' son that scored. Kenny, Graham Souness spoke earlier today, and once again, recruitment on the tip of everybody's tongue. Described it as asking for trouble when you allow staff that haven't played football and, by his own admission, don't know the game, to be out there spending millions of pounds. It was typical Souness. It was very to the point. It was very attention grabbing, and it was very, I mean, I don't know what age Graham is now, but you're no messing with him. He's very strong in his point, and he does not back this Rangers recruitment, which he described as being terrible for years.
Well, he's not wrong, is he? I mean, we can turn around and sugarcoat that and say, oh, well, it's maybe an old-fashioned point of view, or it's a football man believing that football people should be making these decisions. Football's a modern game. We'll all have our own take on the way football directorships and stuff like that go and recruitment teams go. For what it's worth, I think he's probably right. I think you should have, whether it's a guy that, you know, a football man that's in charge of that, there should certainly be somebody that has been involved in the game that you can bounce your ideas off. He made a great point about, you know, football's all stats and numbers these days, but it only tells you so much. And he's spot on, because how many times have you and I sat here, Stevie, and turned around and said, with all respect to the stats, I'll use the eye test because my eyes tell me more than any numbers ever going to tell me, because sometimes stats on a player will be absolutely phenomenal, but you watch them and you just don't see it because you know how football works. So stats are all very good and well. So he makes a good point with that, I think. On the, I actually, I don't know what you guys thought. You can talk about it after me maybe, but I felt it was a very pointed criticism of individuals at Ibrox, and it's not without, you know, I'll rephrase that. It's not before time that somebody that has our club at heart has actually just stuck the boot in and actually told everybody in the country exactly what he feels about where we're going wrong. And I quite liked it. But I mentioned him last night. I'm a massive, massive admirer of Graham Souness, and always have been. And it's this simple for me, mate. When Graham Souness talks, we should listen. It is that simple for me. So fair play to him for being his usual controversial self and saying it as he sees it, which is what he's done his entire career. So fair play to him.
Yeah, I found it interesting on the agenda. You said, when I grow up, I want to be like Graham Souness. Ross, what did you make of Souness's comments today?
I just love listening to guys of that era, Stevie, and the way they just talk football. As Kenny says, when they talk, you listen, and you listen because they're experienced, and he's everything that what he's accusing essentially our recruitment team of no being. Somebody that's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and knows that football games aren't won on Microsoft Excel sheets. I've been a long time sayer on podcast, Stevie. I think the Scottish football, the way the game's played, the way it's refereed, the way the stadiums are, I don't think it suits. I think it's its own wee niche. And I think that a player that looks good in the Championship in England or League One or the Spanish League or coming across here, if you look at like Jamestown Analytics and the way they do things, crunching numbers against players and giving them a rating, there's no a box on the end of that Excel spreadsheet that says can get booted up the arse off Paul McGinn for 90 minutes on a Wednesday night in Motherwell. Do you know what I mean? So hearing Graham Souness saying that, and as you say, it was kind of pointed towards our recruitment team. He actually went as far as to say it 3 times to emphasise the point he was trying to make. And for me, he's absolutely spot on. Long gone are the days now where scouts are just going to games and identifying someone and maybe going and watching them a couple of times and then you make a bid. Everything now is on a spreadsheet, and the manager will get a report on players, but the manager's not actually going and putting eyes on them. Again, that report that's been pulled and put in front of the manager when he identifies we need a right winger and they give him 4 names, it's a wee dossier that he's getting. It's not the chance to go and actually watch them. It's a dossier, some YouTube clips, and the people that are making up those dossiers, as Souness alluded to, aren't exactly football people. I don't know what Thelwell Jr. and Dan Purdy's history is in playing football, if they played at a great level. I've never looked into them that much. but they've never played at the level that they're buying players for, Stevie. And I think Souness is right. I think that is a worry.
As I said, and as I have said, here's what I'm going to try and sort of say this in a way that I've said it the last couple of nights to keep saying the same thing. I think our window will very much be defined on what happens in the next 4 weeks, and by what we do and who we bring in now. If the Ghedjemis bid, £10 million would indicate we've got money to spend, and it's that quality that the club now need to put in. I will say the same thing as I said last night, and it got a few groans. I think the recruitment summer has been good, to bulk the squad and to put players in, but now's the time to add quality and first team starters. One's coming in, signing number 9 or Yokota, which we'll talk about in a bit. But this is where it's going to define. If it doesn't, you're probably going to get a lot of criticism on the likes of Dan Purdy and Thelwell Jr. But I would point to the fact that Dan Purdy is technical director. It's his job to go and scout players and recommend players. If the board or if the people that then have to action the deals are taking too long or things aren't happening, we need to be careful of who we point the finger at. Is it Dan Purdy or does it go higher up the line? Is it Stigging and Bjornby and people like that are actually doing the deals and aren't doing them quick enough? Because we need to be careful about who we're blaming here, because ultimately, we're very quick to blame Dan Purdy and blame, Thelwell Jr. and everything else. But do we actually know what's causing these hold-ups and everything else? So I'm a bit reluctant to start the bed sheets and, big posters saying get Dan Purdy out and everything else. I think we need to be really clear on who's letting the club down. And ultimately, the next 4 weeks will define where we are. And I understand the club, the support's position on Thelwell Jr. I understand it. I get it. Dad was a raving nightmare, according to most. And, he goes part and parcel with it. But Kenny, I say the same thing. It's becoming almost tiresome. But the next 4 weeks will define Rangers' summer. And from there, we can judge, that this kind of window for Rangers. But it's clear they have to add quality. I think Yokota is quality. And I'm going to put my neck on the line the same as I've done with Pandur. I think he is. So I'm looking forward to discussing him. But within the next 4 weeks or so, it's going to define exactly where we are.
I haven't seen the boy. I've only seen the reels, mate, and he does look quite tidy, but you'll get the same as everybody else. You'll get 10 minutes in the Hibs game and I'll make my mind up. But it's been an interesting day, or a few days, in terms of the recruitment, kind of culminating with what Graham Souness said. And I don't think, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but what Graham said, actually, I felt it wasn't necessarily implicating individuals. He was kind of sticking the boot into the club for the way we're going about it in general, I think, which, if you're being honest, is quite fair. If you look at our record over the last few years, it's not good. So he has got a point. Whether you agree with it or all of it or not is entirely up to every individual. But on recruitment, yes, I mean, you and I had discussed this last night, mate, and you're absolutely right. You can only determine how good a transfer window has been at the end of it, and you can start to judge the players. And even then, it takes a while because these guys have still got to bed in. You can't, for all that I'm laughing and joking them and giving them 10 minutes, you've still got to give these guys time to settle into a new environment, a new country, a new club, new weather to deal with. Everything that you see is totally different in Scotland. As Ross had said, 5 minutes ago, talking about, the analytics stuff. It doesn't account for the fact that Paul McGinn's going to boot you up and down the park for 90 minutes. So on that sense, mate, or in that sense, what I would say more than anything else is I agree with you, and we discussed it again, as I said last night, that I agree in the main so far, the squad is building really quite well, but it is the quality difference makers that we're missing at this minute in time. today there's been news of 2 or 3 different. I mean, there was a boy in Turkey, which I've not put in the agenda because I can't remember if it was Fenerbahce. It might have been a left winger at Fenerbahce, I think it was. But Fenerbahce have already turned around and said that anybody interested is going to pay through the nose for this guy. So I wouldn't imagine with the other clubs that are interested, Stevie, because there's Premier League clubs and German clubs and stuff, that we're going to be able to compete with that perhaps. So I didn't bother putting it in the agenda. But we have all of a sudden been linked with what we know we need. Chris Jack, your good mate, has turned around and said that the club is actively and openly looking for a centre half or centre halves and a left back, because we need that as well as the winger. So this is good news. I don't know if the Rangers support's meltdown over the last few days since Friday has maybe kicked their asses a little bit into gear, and we need to get this sorted, because people are getting very frustrated now, because it is the quality players, it's the expensive players that we need to buy. As you said, and you've said many times, it is the core's being built, it's the quality around about it that make the difference that we need to find, Stevie.
Yeah, Ross, the next 4 weeks will define how this works out for us. I'll ask you that question and where you are with it.
I think, as we covered the other day when I was on, that the board have made sensible transfers. They are now looking to add the flair. You guys have already alluded to it. There's 3 or 4 names going about today. A right winger, a left winger, somebody that can play both. And these are all at different price ranges. I think I read the boy you were talking about, Kenny, it's 15 million euros or something they're looking for him, which is possibly out of our price range. But at least we're going and asking the questions. You just wish, Stevie, that this flurry of activity had happened last week before the first game. You just wonder what the hold up is when we're notoriously bad starters in the season, and how that can snowball effect throughout the first 4 or 5 games, because right away the pressure's on. Why they never just put a wee spurry activity on last week to try and get the bodies in that the gaffer required. And I think we said it last week as well. We were on, you're not just getting it Thelwell and Purdy, but you look above them, Stiginga, Bjornaby, then you go above that, Kavanagh. I think we kind of spoke about that. Somebody's not doing their job, and the ones above them need to hold them accountable. And then when you get to the bottom of the tree, if everyone else is doing their job, then that's what I said last week. The fans will then start questioning Mr. Kavanagh. How come we've got 15 million to bid today, but we never had it last week when McInnes was making himself look a bit foolish, saying that he reckoned we were going to have 2 in by the game, and then you go and drop points in it. I think that is a source of frustration, but hopefully the new boy can get registered for Thursday. The big centre half's able to play now. He got his visa sorted, and hopefully we get a good result on Thursday, and that turns the tide on it a wee bit, and then we can get some other signings in before the weekend.
Yeah, we'll come on to transfers in a bit, but Kenny, Brian Gilmore has been appointed the interim academy director. Davy McCallum has left after 11 years at the club. Davy was one that kind of split opinion, I think, but he's been interim for 2.5 years, and he's been replaced as interim by the boy that was underneath him, and Davy's moving on. I don't know the logic of, are we kicking the can down the road? It feels like we're kicking the can down the road. Why not just appoint an actual academy director and let him do the job? This was a question I asked to Andrew Kavanagh directly, just at the end of the season meeting where he was talking about Danny Rule and stuff like that. I said, what is happening? And one of the frustrations for me when Andrew Kavanagh came in was that these parts of the football club that felt like were always up in the air and felt like, there was turbulent over positions and everything else would be sorted, and would get a degree of, I don't even know what the word, like steadiness throughout the club, where people weren't hopping in and out of jobs. It's not happened. And this, to me, it's not nothing against Brian Gilmore, may I add. Why are we appointing another interim academy director? What is going on there? are we paying close enough attention to this? Where are we with it? Because if Davy McCallum wasn't good enough for 2.5 years as interim, then you guys come in, they've given him a bit of a time and appointed his junior as now his interim. Why aren't we appointing academy director? It just doesn't make any sense. Continue unity, Maka, yeah, I get it. Why not just go and actually appoint a full-time person, either hire or recruit from within like they've done, but make it proper. Give Davy a job or give Brian a job. Why are we always interim? There's a lot to do there, I think.
It's a lot to unpack here, right? I was stunned, probably the same way you were, going by the way you said it, that David McCallum had been in interim charge for 2.5 years. Now, that's not normal, mate. Nobody's in interim charge of anything for any more than a couple of months, a few months. Once you start hitting years and years, you're in charge. So why is the interim, the term interim still being in place? That suggests to me, again, when you bring and you promote his assistant effectively, and you're promoting him and giving him the interim job, that they're not taking this seriously enough for me at all. And after we've discussed this many times, Stevie, you know how I feel about youth development at Rangers. I think if we do that right, it's a license to print money. It is an absolute license to print money. And with the budget that we have in that area, and I don't know if since Andrew Cavan has come in, they've maybe slashed that budget. But it doesn't feel like it to me when you're getting our top young players agreeing to sign, and we're going out of our way to try and give them a pathway into the senior game and ultimately, hopefully, into the Rangers first team. So there's huge amounts to consider with this, I think, because when I look at it, I've said this many, many times, mate. If you get a decent young player, you can either bring him all the way through to your first team, or you can sell him for £1 million anywhere, and it pays for itself. Now, at this minute in time, I find the whole up in the air kind of stuff about this, and this isn't even just come back 2.5 years. I can't remember the name of the boy. Was it a Belgian boy that was in charge before, if I remember right? You'll remember better than me, but he wasn't there for long. Whoever it was there previously, wasn't, and it was Craig Mulholland, if I remember right, that was in charge for a long, long time. And since then, we've just not taken it seriously at all. On the surface, I can't say we have or we haven't. I'm just looking at it from the outside looking in. That's what I mean. But I find it very, very strange, Stevie, that we haven't actually dealt with that in any way, shape or form in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's difficult because there was a quick answer there in the Andrew Kavanagh says we're concentrating all on the first team, and that's fine, Ross, but you can't allow the rest of the club just to go sideways while we concentrate fully on the first team. There needs to be a governance throughout the whole club, and I had hoped that these things wouldn't happen, but we're back to interims, we're back to positions not being filled, people leaving the club and stuff like that. That stability that I wanted hasn't quite been created yet.
Yeah, and from my own personal experience, when you're in interim charge or something, or you're made up to a temporary manager or leader or whatever, you're scared to make the decisions and make the changes because you don't feel as if it's your shoes that you're sitting in. Your feet are under the table, but it's not your boots that are on the floor. And to be honest, that in itself is a holdback, because whoever's in charge at that specific time on an interim basis won't make big decisions. And when you think of Auchenhowie and some of the talent that's in there at the moment, your Rid Maguires, Ashton Scallies, Kyle Glasgow's, the boy Rankin, these are players that could potentially, with the right nurturing and the right looking after, going to make this club millions and millions of pounds in the future. And you want somebody who's best in class, which is what our club loves to speak about, being best in class. Go and find out who is the best candidate, invest money, give them the title, give them full control and allow them to go and do the work. Don't have somebody there who, you've essentially got somebody looking after your stock, savings and pension, Stevie, and they don't know whether they can make a decision. and it's your future and the money, your potential future earnings that you're trusting someone to look after, and they need to be handheld by somebody above them because they're scared to make a decision. That doesn't work in any economy, whether it's football, whether it's your retirement plan. Give somebody the job, put your trust in them, give them the license to go and make it what it is, and stop the second guessing. Just go and invest in it and get the best person you think you can possibly get. Give them license to go and run with it, and then get that stakeholder group built up within the club that starts pushing these players through into the first team, churning through that machine, and then either going on to win things for Rangers, filling Euro squads, helping us out on that basis, and then potentially turning them over for double-digit millions of pounds profit. And that's the way an academy should work for me.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Probably for the best though. With the amount of young players coming through that are talented, that are your Scallies, that are your Rankins, Finlay Curtis coming through, Paul and CEO and stuff like that, that's all been under Davy McCallum's watch. So I wonder why Davy was temporary for so long and they never actually gave him it full time when these young players are coming through under his watch. And the youth teams and the prospects in that levels have probably been at their best for a number of years. So it's an interesting thing that's happened there. I'm disappointed for Davy. Davy was somebody I liked. And we'll just need to see what else comes of it. Maybe he's getting a move elsewhere. Maybe Davy's actually going abroad or going to a big first team move or whatever, or in a proper academy director move. And in which case, I'd wish Davy all the best. I just think after 2.5 years as interim, maybe he deserved a wee bit more from the football club. Kenny Barry Ferguson questions Rangers mentality after Friday night. There is that old mentality word, day one. Expected them to push on and try and get the winner, but they didn't. Showed more urgency getting the equaliser. Frustrated that they handed the initiative back to Dundee United. Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah, he's only saying exactly what everybody else has been saying since Friday. Interesting to see it from an ex-player's point of view or an ex-captain's point of view, or a real Rangers man's point of view, where he's turned around and said it frustrated the hell out of him watching it. And well, welcome to the club, because we're all the same. Friday was an incredibly annoying 90 minutes to watch. You get your hopes up, and we've discussed it, we've said it, it's like watching the same tired old movie. On Barry saying it, I think it holds a bit more weight when somebody like that turns around and says it. That's the point, that it's not just us. I mean, I heard Andy Halliday, I didn't see it, it was on Radio Scotland, and I heard him say it, and it was very, very similar, and he nailed it exactly what you or I or Ross or anybody else on Four Lads, and just about every Rangers supporter that's watched the game on Friday, it's staring us all in the face. That's the issue that Derek McInnes has got, isn't it? That he's got to try and kind of almost wring this out of them to a certain degree and try and find a way to make sure that a Rangers team under Derek McInnes starts the right way, ends the right way, and everything in between is just going at an opponent for 90 minutes. That we have to learn how to do that, because it's abundantly clear when you hear the likes of Barry or the likes of Andy Halliday or the likes of guys like us or any other podcast out there, we're all saying the same thing. We can all see it. So it's dead. Unfortunately, there's not an awful lot else I can say about this because it's been talked to death over the last few days, Stevie. But it's interesting that somebody is who is held in such high esteem can turn around and say exactly the same as the guys like you or I or Ross are saying, that come on, we need 90 minutes out of these guys. You turned around and called one of them a lazy bee last night because it's so obvious that they're not giving you everything for 90 minutes. And that, as I say, unfortunately for Derek McInnes, he's got a job on, because he's going to have to find a way of wringing every ounce out of these players and making sure they do not hesitate or stop, and they've got that work ethic that Rangers are renowned for.
Yeah, I got into trouble for swearing last night. Somebody who's a member said it was a bit unfair. I lectured everyone at the start of the season and said, we need to clean up, no swearing and stuff like that. And one draw at Dundee United and a mega rant later, I broke the internet with my swearing. So apologies there, ladies and gentlemen. Alistair, Nearly, thanks for your support as ever, mate. Gifted 24 Lads of the Dream Rangers podcast memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate all your support. Thursday's game, Rangers will broadcast both legs of this tie against Jagiellonia this Thursday and next week. Individually, they're $9.99 or $16.99 for both. If you want to buy this, there is a 90-minute cut-off before the game starts. Game kicks off 5 p.m. on Thursday. So you've got until 3:30 to purchase it, or you can't afterwards, folks. That is the situation. So if you want to watch a game on Thursday, then get yourself onto Rangers TV, and that's the way to do it. So moving on, we are talking transfers now, which is the exciting bit. Lots of positivity. Rangers have agreed a fee of around £3 million for Hanover 96 right winger Daisuke Yokota. It looks like he will become the first Japanese player to ever play for Rangers. They are actually attempting to get the deal done so that he is in the squad for Thursday night. 2 changes can be made up until I think 24 hours before. So we're going to be up against it. He's 26 years old. He played 28 games last season, scored 5 goals, 4 assists on loan at Hanover 96, who then triggered his agreement to sign him, and he promptly said, "I don't want to sign. I want to move to a bigger club." So they doubled their money on him, and Rangers have come in and paid, I think it's 3.3 plus 700,000. What I will say about this boy is he is somebody that I knew of. Whether or not I've signed him in the deepest, darkest game of Football Manager way back in yonder, that'll be why. But I recognise the name straight away. I will tell you a wee bit about him from some scouting stuff that's been online. So let's find it, of course, because I've never got these things ready. But Andrew Gill, who's a scout on X, has put up a kind of scouting report. So he's very solid in terms of off the ball play, very dedicated in pressing and transitions, great technique, brave in one-on-ones, decent shooting ability, left-footed, plays on the right, works really hard, he's creative, capable of making key passes, and he is very fast. Who does that remind you of? Because I know who it reminds me of, and he just buggered off from the other side of the city, and I was absolutely delighted to see the back of him. He's a workhorse. He's somebody that's going to really work hard for Rangers. The Japanese style of player is they are complete, workhorses. They will run and work for your team. I was talking to CJ Novo last night, and CJ was saying, and he was putting up some stats and stuff like that he'd found and doing his research for his videos. So his ball recoveries are massive. I think he had something like 68 ball recoveries last season, according to transfermarket.com. And he basically runs the same speed as what Maeda did as well. Maeda was quick, and let's be honest, Maeda was a fantastic player for him. I'm delighted he has buggered off, because he was a bit of a player and a nightmare. You've seen the reaction that when he played well in that running of how it impacted them. I'm not saying this boy's going to be like him, because he was a good player, unfortunately. But we need that type of player on the right-hand side. We need somebody that's going to work hard, that's going to create, that's going to help the fullback, everything. He kind of ticks all the boxes, and it's that old cliche, I get it. But Kenny, there's a lot of negativity around this. I don't really get it. Like, we're screaming out for players. Me and you were talking about this last night, and we said there's no rumours. And then we go off, and an hour later, up it comes and the deal's done, which is great. I I'm pleased about this. Still need another one. Still need another right winger. But as terms of, first team player and pushing on and somebody that could really help us, I think this has got all the capability of being a really good signing.
Yeah, well, the proof will be in the pudding. I've always said this, and he's playing at a decent level in Bundesliga too. But at the end of the day, we can only judge him when he gets here and see what he does. But the stats, as you say, the pace is brilliant. That will be a big bonus, because we discussed it again last night. The lack of pace in that team is just so blatantly apparent. It needs dealt with. So that's good. The work rate is good. Stats are not bad. What was it? 5 goals, 4 assists in 27 games or something like that last year. It's not too bad. It's a goal contribution, one every 3 games, basically. It's not bad. And at the end of the day, Stevie, we need wingers. We need 2 in the right, and we need at least probably another 1 in the left. If Ghedjemis goes, we'll still need 2. I'm a big believer in this. I've been saying this. I've been cracking on about this all weekend. I actually, and I don't want to talk about them, but I actually feel that's slightly the difference between us and them at this minute in time when it comes to them winning games in the last 10 minutes, Stevie, is that they're capable of bringing, they've got 6-7 wingers in their books, and they're capable of bringing speed on in the last 10 minutes of the game. Somebody with a bit of a trick, and that's what we need. And I think it actually will unlock an awful lot of defences. When you're tearing teams apart, trying to get in at them, and you're capable of bringing almost a like for like in quality, that's what we're looking for. So I'm with you, actually. I think at the money, the boy looks a bit of a bargain, particularly when you see the amount he runs. I mean, it was well over a kilometre, I noticed, more than any of our players last season, I think, if I remember right. And I could be wrong, might have read the stat wrong, but I think it was well over a kilometre more per 90 than any player in our team. So you're going to get work rate and a little bit of creativity. So delighted with that. And if he does get into the European squad, mate, then we can take one of our 475 midfielders out of there.
Yeah, I can't see it being a defender because we've none. It will be a central midfielder, I'm sure. Ross, this is good news for me. Right, we're allowed to be happy about this. It's okay. We can be positive. It's £4 million deal. He looks like he's got all the attributes to succeed here. We need pace. We need guys that are going to work their balls off. We need guys that are going to do that to free up the guys at Telo Asgard that everybody wants to see in the team these days. So I don't see how this is a negative. Yes, of course, the proof is going to be in the pudding. Kenny's absolutely right. Of course he is. I want 2. I want Yokota and another one. And I think we need that. I think that's really necessary, especially if you're going to look at Ross McCausland and things moving on. So for me, great. Get him in the door. It's a low fee move. And I know people say, well, 4 million, but that's not a lot of money these days. And I like this. I like the sound of it. I really like the idea. I like where we're going. I like all his attributes. I like the write-up he's been getting. I like the reaction from the Hanover fans when he's leaving, which is really positive. And you can always tell, whereas we're like, hey, fucking take John Suter, we'll drive him down there. And they're all like, oh, this is really bad news. He was one of the ones we really like. Can't believe he's leaving. So this is all positive.
Got to agree, mate. We asked for a right winger. We're receiving a right winger. The one thing I thought on the right wing, I thought Dell would have went for a right-footed right winger as well, which he seems to be going inverted forwards or inverted wingers on both sides, judging by the players we're linked with, which is the only slight downside of this for me, is you're then relying on McCausland and Suter to get up to give you the service into a Shankland, somebody that's going to hit the byline and give cutbacks, rather than somebody who's going to look inside the pitch. But no, industrious. Listen, when Ange Postecoglou came in across the road and signed a plethora of people from the Japanese league, I was one of the ones who kind of scoffed and said they would get swallowed up in Scottish football and that they would be too light, too small. I don't see the negative, Stevie. Obviously, we've scouted this guy. Obviously, we feel as if this guy can give us the attributes that we are looking for. Somebody who's hardworking, somebody who's got a bit of goal threat. As Kenny says, 1 in 3 goal contributions last season, going into his prime years. You would hope in a team that's got more of the ball, you would kind of up the numbers. 1 and 2 goal contributions would be great, and heading towards the kind of Cherny numbers that we so seek. And do you know what? Sometimes you just get a good deal, Stevie. You don't have to spend £8 million on a winger for him to be a good winger. See if there's a deal to be made at 3.7 or whatever this is, and the guy fits the profile that we're looking for, then go and get him. Last year we had somebody in that we were going to spend £8 million on this summer, all going well, and he was a sack of spuds. So I'm prepared to back McInnes and back the recruitment team on this. I'm allowing myself to get excited, and it's one of the ones that you just hope that the whole of the support feels like that, because if our signings, I feel as if sometimes they come in with this negative energy with a certain section of the support, and then all it takes is 2 bad games and they can jump right on that. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully everybody gets behind them. We've been looking for a right winger. We've got a right winger. And to be honest with you, if we can get him registered for Thursday, I'd be tempted to throw him right in.
Aye. But if he only had one leg and he played in the right, I would throw him in. That's how it's felt like for years. So I agree with you. I just think it's slightly funny as a support that we moan and say, oh, all we look at is championship players and all we look at is these guys. And why don't we look further afield? There's gems everywhere. And then we go and get somebody from the second division in the Bundesliga who's reasonably good, stats and everything else. Everything looks good, reports are good of him. And we're like, who the fuck's this guy? Why are we signing him? So I just think it's, as a support, let's just wait and see. I'm really pleased that we've got this boy. I'm really pleased he's coming in. The idea of pace, the idea of, being left-footed, being able to cut in, the trickery, the direction, the way he plays the game, the fact that he works his balls off and half our team don't. Give me him. Let's see how he does. Yes, I want another right winger. And that brings us on to the other big bid that's been in. Now, this is where it begins to get positive because, or even more positive, as I just try and find Kenny's agenda again. I beg your pardon. So it's been reported that we've had a bid of between 8 and 10 million rejected by Frosinone. I don't know. Some team. For winger Fares Ghedjemis. Algerian, 23 years old, was in the World Cup squad for Algeria. Left-footed, can play both sides, being compared to Riyad Mahrez, which is interesting. The club have said we want between 12 and is it 12 to 15 million they're wanting. So this is a big deal. What's the positives here? Positives is that bids are going in for that amount of money. We've got money to spend. And it's one of those ones that Andrew Kavanagh kind of hinted about. We will spend money when they're right. So, Kenny, although it's a negative that we've been knocked back, do we now need to move elsewhere? Possibly. But I see only positives in this. We've all been praying for that excitement to come in the next, 4 weeks or so. The game changers, the ones that are going to make all the difference. We've splashed in a 10 million bid for somebody that's been knocked back. I don't see it as a negative. If they bid 10 million, then they've got that 10 million to spend. So where else are they going to spend it? Does that mean Nico's deal's further down the line? Does it mean that we'll need to wait and see? But it indicates that exciting moves are still to come for the football club.
Well, you'd certainly hope so, because there's been talk of this all summer that there's a lot of money there, Stevie. The fact that they're putting in an offer of 8 million quid, 10 million euros, shows you that they're prepared to go and spend the money that they feel that they have to get the wide areas correct. That's good. I'm not going to tell any lies. I haven't seen much of this guy at all. Even in the reels that I've watched, the video, the YouTube stuff, haven't seen a huge amount that makes me go, wow, what an absolute amazing player. However, this is the guy that Celtic tried to get in January, and they wouldn't pay the money for him. We are now turning around and saying that we're not going to go. Well, there's no way I would imagine if we're offering £8 million and they're looking at 15 million quid, that's a massive, massive gap If it's 15 million euros, we're still 30% short. So are we actually going to turn around and look elsewhere? If they stick to their guns, and listen, it is their want, it is entirely their right to do that. If they want to keep their player or get 15 million euros, whatever it is, and they're not going to budge on it, it's entirely their right to do that. So, but it comes back to exactly what Ross said, 15, 20 minutes ago. Why did we not do that last week? Why did we not go in with that bid last week? We might be much farther forward this week if we're genuinely intent in trying to get the boy, of bringing that gap from 8, we'll say 10 million euros in 15. If you're looking at 12 million is going to get him, we could have been a lot farther getting into this European campaign, and we wouldn't have dropped 3 points, Stevie, if we'd started this a little bit earlier. And that's just the frustration that I have. And the frustration of Friday night that's not gone away yet for me. I'm really quite peed off at it that we've dropped to 2 points in the first game of the season. But it is the intent that's making me happy today. The amount of different links that we had and be verified by the Grim Reaper himself and Chris Jack is wonderful. Do you know what I mean? That he's actually saying, yeah, we are actually looking at getting these guys in. So let's see how it goes, mate. But as I say, I genuinely don't know enough about this boy to overly comment on him because I've only seen 2 or 3 minutes of stuff.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm a massive knowledge of this boy either, Ross, but what I will say is it does seem to, at least it enthuses me that we are putting in bids like this. I would expect Rangers to go and spend that on a winger. That's going to make the difference. If they can't get this boy Ghedjemis in, then the money's there to be spent. So go and have a look and see who we can get in and let's see if we can spend that money, because we do need that quality. I know what Kenny's saying about Yokota. Perhaps we couldn't get it done last week, and I understand all that, and we needed it done, and there's that frustration. I'm totally there. I get it. But we need 2 or 3 wingers in this football club. Yokota's one. I still want an R2. The left side and the right side need urgent attention. And plus, if you sign 1 or 2 wingers, right, and they don't have a sterling game, who's coming on for them? We need to have rotation. We need to have different options, Ross. So for me, Yokota is a good start. Somebody like Ghedjemis coming in, I can't be an expert on it, but at least we're shown intent finally.
Echo what you two guys have said. I've never seen him play. What scouted about a wee bit of YouTube, and it's the same people with the same compilations. There isn't actually much footage for what I found of the boy. Anybody who gets linked in their name mentioned in the same breath as like a young Riyad Mahrez will do for me right enough. What a footballer he was to watch. Stevie, I think you're bang on the money. There's money to be spent, and you look at the options just now. We've been playing Diamande on the right, and Finlay Curtis is probably the only other person who you would say is a true winger who is even getting game time. Gassama, for me, has totally wrote himself off the picture, getting subbed off at half-time again on the opening day of the season, after the gaffer giving him the nod, spending a bit of time with him after the open training session, and obviously thought maybe he had unlocked something within Gassama, but he's let him down again and let us down again. So at the moment, your only winger really is Finlay Curtis, and maybe playing Asgard a bit narrower. So to have a selection, as you would say, 4, I would say another Yamada and another 2 would be good, along with Curtis, 2 for each side, and then you've got the one of them who can play across both as well. So that to me gives you a lot of cover, a lot of options, a lot of excitement, and it is good to see that we are finally going to loosen the purse strings. Whether that means maybe Nico's moves a bit further along and we're kind of starting to cash those checks, or whether it's somebody else, whether it's maybe the wages freed up with like Bajrami leaving, or whatever it is that's unlocked it. I'm really happy, as I say, because the support need a wee jag at the moment. We need a wee G up going into this European tie on Thursday. and a couple of new faces in the squad and potentially in the starting 11, I think will really give us a wee bit of cutting edge, a wee bit of depth in the squad, and also a wee bit of good grace with the fans again.
Yeah, they are being linked with Camilo Mena as well. Chris Jack saying that Rangers, he's on the list. Colombian 23-year-old, also a right winger, playing in Poland for Lechia Gdansk, I think. It's been some summer trying to pronounce all these names, folks, I can tell you. So we're still very much in for these guys. It's going to be interesting. What I will say is Nadim Bayrami announced this morning at 10 a.m. he has left the club. We talked about that last night. An option to buy. So frustrating, I think that is for every one of us, because every one of us goes, well, he's not getting sold. So yeah, it's quite annoying. Like, I prefer the old, we always seem to do like it's a compulsory thing. We have to buy him at the end, and never mind. Well, I hope that Nadim goes over there and smashes it. If you consider Bayrami and Ant-Man going out of the club in the last week or so, we need to get more out. And I think, John Suter is going to move on at some point, hopefully this summer. Nico will go, Mohamed Diamandi, Connor Barron, Ross McCausland. There's plenty of players that need to be moving out. So that's been done. Kenny, ahead of the European game on Thursday, this is the last time we'll be on. Fly out to Poland tomorrow morning. How do you see this one going? Of course, the show will be back tomorrow night. You'll talk about it more in depth, but I'm intrigued to find out what you and Ross think of this one.
Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow with Big Andrew Anderson, so we'll cover. But how do I see this game going? I think it'll be a tough game, Stevie. I don't think there's any doubt in that. I think when you look at their record of late, they're a good side. Clearly, they're a decent side. The Polish league is kind of flying. It's up to the 10th ranked in the coefficient table. It's rising all the time. It's becoming a very strong league, and I know they've got a very, very, very big TV deal in comparison to everybody else round about them, which they've signed, I believe, a year or so ago, and I think it must be helping in terms of getting quality into the league. We know what it's going to be like, mate. We've played plenty of Polish sides over the years, and they're never easy. They're big, they're strong, they're Eastern European, they're organised, they can be dirty when they need to be. They're well-structured sides, and I expect this team to be no different at all from any other. You look at Legia Warsaw for, what was that, 5-6 years ago, took us a 1-0 in the last minute of 180 minutes, effectively, to get over the line, and that. Lech Poznan, I can't remember the score in that, but we got over the line in that one. So our record against Polish sides is pretty decent, and that's what's keeping me optimistic. But I'm under no illusions that Thursday night I would I'd grab a draw and run like hell. Right now, if we could get it, I'd be delighted with that, because I would fancy to do the business at Ibrox against anybody. So that's kind of my take on it. That will be a tough game.
Ross, what's your thoughts on Thursday night?
It's echo the same sentiments as Kenny, Stevie. If you can go away from home to Poland and come back with a draw, putting you in the favourites chair, then for me that would be a good result. I think it'll be interesting. I'm quite looking forward again to seeing what the gaffer does when you're going away and you've got some injuries in defence, and we're looking to maybe control the game a bit more, and rather than maybe the two up front, does he change that and pivot and maybe go with one and make us a bit more solid in the middle? Does he maybe go 3-5-2? I'm looking forward to seeing how McInnes manages our way through this tie home and away, just to get a wee insight, Stevie, into how he's going to set us up for such games. I know in the friendly there at West Ham, we went 3-5-2 in the second half, which he said was to get players minutes in certain positions. But I just wonder if maybe that's something that you could see for this European tie, especially when we're badly lacking in centre-backs, whether maybe he plays Dujon Sterling or McCrory right side of a 3 with your new fella and Fernandes, and then have Romans and potentially your new guy on the wings if he works back defensively. So I think it was interesting. I like this part of a new manager. I wish we never got to experience it every 6 months, right enough, Stevie, but getting to see their kind of intricacies in the way they do things, and especially with McInnes, who's had real tangible success with clubs like St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Aberdeen, Hearts, where he got them to and made them better. And you think to yourself, with Rangers, the squad standard, the expectation, you just wonder what sort of wee tweaks and changes. So I would take a draw if you offered me 1-0. If we could sneak a wee win, all the better. But you don't want to go there and be wide open the way we were at the weekend and against wasn't it West Ham? What was the friendly before that? We were wide open. St Etienne. We don't want to, thank you very much. We don't want to go and be wide open and end up shooting ourselves in the foot early, Stevie. Nice, compact, and then play our way into the game and then see how it goes for there. So yeah, looking forward to it. Confident we can get results, Stevie. Look at the team we've got, the players we've got. And I think that a good positive result here could just be, as I said earlier on, the turning point and getting everybody G'd back up to then come back and play Hibs on the Sunday.
Does anybody remember Victoria Ziskov under Alex McLeish when we went out there? I got the fear a wee bit over this one. And I know people say, I don't care about Europe and everything else. Europe's so important to us. Getting into that Europa is very, very important. If you get through this one, you're going to do well. I genuinely think this is going to be so tough for us. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Not many played their way into the team on Friday night, that's for sure. I think, McCann has to come in for Ben Godfrey. So we just really need to wait and see what's happening. Kids. Yeah, so I don't know. Kenny, say something till I chase them away, will you?
You're right though. It is going to be tough. There's no doubt it's going to be a tough game. But I'm like Ross as well. I understand Ross being optimistic. So look, see in any ordinary time, you would look at that and say that we should be getting through that time. We really should. We're Rangers. We're playing a half decent side from Poland. My problem is at the minute that we've been through that much upheaval over the last few years. You watched us in Europe last year, and it was a bit of a shit show. Let's not kid ourselves on. It was a mess. So I'm not getting into any European game with any great confidence at all, and that's just the way I am. I'm rather. I'm going to say I'm pessimistic, but I'd much rather prepare myself to fail than. Do you know what I mean by that? Just I will. If it happens, it happens. So that's where I am with it, mate. I just think it is one of those things, and have you got them out the way yet?
Thanks, mate. They're off their head. Honestly, running up the stairs shouting chugga chugga whoop whoop. They're not in the cupboard, headkeeper. I promise you, they're not. Nobody lives in the cupboard, right? Anyway, yes, it could be the game that clicks. Let's really, really hope so. Ross, thank you as ever, mate, for joining us. Much appreciated. Now a regular on Four Lads. I hope you enjoyed it, mate.
Excellent, mate. Good. Starting to ease into it a wee bit, Stevie. The first couple I've watched back and went, that doesn't sound like me. Starting to get a wee bit more confident. It's been a while away from it. Obviously no used to being on pods with this amount of viewers as well. You're a bit nervous, aren't you, at first, in case you say something that you may later regret when it's given against you in evidence. But no, we're making it through. We're doing all right. Really enjoying it, and it's a pleasure getting to talk Rangers with you two fine gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Kenny, as ever, thank you very much. Apparently your cat's tearing your curtains to bits, mate, or it might just be that they all made you look. Who knows?
I don't have a fucking cat, man. I keep telling everybody this, and nobody listens. A cat sit for my stepdaughter, and a cat sit for my mum sometimes. That's the difference. So there's no cat in here at the minute. So I knew my curtains were fine. But no, listen, thanks very much. Enjoyed that. Good wee chat. And yeah, Ross, met you a load of times of late. That's the first time I've ever podded with you, mate, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, boys. must say that. Very good show. We're trying to put out one every night because the numbers are there and the content's there and the people have asked for it. So we hope you enjoy it. Huge thanks to our sponsors, CBD Oil Scotland, Candid, LBJ Consultants, Elite Scooter Scotland, Metaclad 4Lads, official roofing partner, Athletics Lounge by Sharon, and Denhay, the quintessential British bacon. Did I not say that at the start of the show? Did I miss the sponsor thing at the start of the show? I feel like that's the only time that I've said that tonight. But if so, apologies. Stevie, did you get ice cream at Dundee? No, I did not. Amrit didn't bring ice cream. He did bring some pick a mix, but I've got to be honest with you folks, right? Amrit on the way home on Friday night was quiet. He barely said a word to me all the drive home. He put on 4Lads and he drove and said very little. The big man was hurting. And then about 5 minutes before I got out the car, he says, I'm sick of this pish. So we all felt it from Amrit, honestly. So yeah, no ice cream, but maybe next time. Folks, we will be back tomorrow night. The Wednesday show will be live at 7 o'clock. I won't be there, but I will be sending little videos from Poland. Going out there with CJ Novo. So let's get some updates and things from Poland. Then Thursday night, the boys will be back post-match. We'll probably do a vlog from out there. I'm meeting Amrit out in Poland, so that'll be good fun. And then Friday night we'll be live. Saturday night at 7 o'clock we'll live. We'll do the Hibs preview as well. I'll be back on then. Me and Davey Heard, I think it is. But live on the channel today, you can see the women's press conference. Leanne Crichton and Kirsty Smith talk about the European game for Rangers women tomorrow evening. And then I think they've got Slavia Prague tomorrow, and the winner of that goes into the final to get into the Champions League on Saturday evening against possibly Ajax, and I can't remember who the other side is. My apologies. So that's up there today. And also Davey Heard's history show with Stephen from the Rangers Archives, which is absolutely brilliant this week. They talk about a lot of stuff, added in clips of goals and things as well, which Stephen donates kindly from his Archives channel. So a lot there to watch. Members can still watch the Mark Walters live interview as well if you want to do that. So we hope we are providing good stuff that everybody likes. And we hope you're enjoying it. What I will say to the nearly 3,000 people watching this live is huge thanks for your support. If you want to become a member, you can watch all the shows ad-free, and it basically just supports the podcast and what we're doing for as little as 99p a month. That is able to get Kenny new things, such as his recently bought laptop and mic and everything else. But we also invested today as a podcast several £1,000s into Rangers Football Club. Which we've done for advertising and to support the club. So we done as we promised. There's a lot of money being put into the club, and we couldn't do that without you. So the money that you provide, we put it back into Rangers Football Club, and that's always the way it's been. So we paid our advertising bill, and Rangers start signing wingers. You just never know, do you? It certainly wasn't.
You've been greeting about it all day, haven't you?
It was a lot of money like going out of my bank. It was upsetting me. You know what I mean? It's been a stressful day, and I don't mind giving Rangers money, but thank you to everybody, genuinely. It's all your support that have made this podcast what it is, and we really appreciate it. And being able to support Rangers and work with Rangers is something that we enjoy. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. There'll be clips from Poland. There'll be match vlogs from Poland. You'll hear from Amrit in Poland. You'll hear from my good self out there as well. And let's hope we're cheering on the Rangers victory. And let's hope there's signing news to come with Yokota being imminent, we are told. Welcome to him to the football club. Let's get some more in. There's more work to be done. And you might even see a smile from me in the future with a few more wingers coming in. Maybe. I can't promise anything. Have a good night, folks. Take care for now. The 4Lads Rangers podcast is proudly sponsored by Candid, LBJ Consultants, CBD Oil Scotland, Elite Scooter Scotland, and Metaclad, 4Lads exclusive roofing partner. The Athletics Lounge by Sharon, Denhay, the quintessential British bacon, Thank you to all our sponsors, and in partnership with Black Rooster, Art of Gold and Rangers Youth Development Company. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.